Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all well. So, as you can see, it's a beautiful, lovely morning here in Southeast London. I don't know where you are and I don't know what the weather is like, but for now, it's absolutely stunning here. So, I thought I would just sit in the garden, appreciate the day, and also enjoy a lovely morning cup of coffee made with cream, my bit of indulgence every day. So I wanted to just pop on here and I'll share this on my other social media platforms later. But I just wanted to just see how everyone is, just check in live because I've never done a live here um, for a very, very long time. And I've just been to my local BNI meeting, which is a business networking kind of group where all different trades and professions meet and they share details about their business, and we are all hopeful of referrals from each other's network. Now, I joined my local BNI not for my fitness business but for my charity. We are a survivors of abuse charity and we have been established since 2016. We help empower people that have been harmed as children and young people and even adults to overcome the trauma impact of being abused as children and young people and young adults, and enable them to move past what is keeping them stuck in their lives to actually fulfill their potential, to live with good health, to live with peace, and be productive in whatever way, shape, or form suits them. So, the 8-week course that I created and am about to teach my 13th course is all about empowering and moving on and doing it holistically through mind and body. It's looking at mindset, nutrition, fitness, stress management. And I've also written a book around all of that for individuals who have been harmed and maybe living with that impact and are dealing with it, coping with it with a means of like drugs, alcohol, over exercising, overworking, under exercising, underworking, not being productive because they're literally stuck in fight, flight, freeze, flop, friend mode. And it's really important for me to bring awareness, educate, and just make people understand that they can move on and overcome whatever difficulties they faced in the past and what's keeping them stuck in this current period of their lives, and to help them move forwards and move on and beyond. So, one of my taglines is there is love, life, and laughter after abuse, whatever form that abuse has taken. And this book that I wrote is a self-help book, and it is there to enable people that can't come to the 8-week in-person course because you just live too far away, you just can't access it. The book is there to help you in a small way to understand how the brain is affected by the abuse that you've gone through, because of the trauma that's living within you. And if any of you know about the Body Keeps the Score book by Professor Van der Kolk, if any of you know about Nadine Harris's work, Burke Harris, about trauma and its impact, if any of you know about adverse childhood experiences, my books that I've written build upon all of those things. It's about having the awareness, knowing that you have the power within to change what is going on for you, and knowing that there is help and support out there for you if you need it. So I've been to this BNI meeting this morning, 6:30 to 8:30, because I'm trying to raise funds for the charity, not only to sustain its work, but also to grow it. Because I would love for my 8-week course to be accessible nationwide. Now, I've been asked, well, why don't you take it online? Then you can reach more people. I personally believe that it's not transferable to be an online course. It needs to be in person. So the charity is going to grow. That is the aim, the focus, the mission, to take on more people so that we can train up professionals in mindset, in Pilates, in nutrition, who are survivors, to become ambassadors of the charity and to deliver this course nationwide to help more people. That is the aim. So I've joined this business networking group to access the network of other people, to try and find some strategic trustees, to try and find that big sum of money that we are needing to make sure that we've got the right infrastructure in place, to make sure we've got the right people in place, and then we can go out there and deliver this life transformation, this course that has been created, and that is in this book, that is accessible to anybody and everybody. Now, if you've never come across my work, you've never come across me, I have spent the last 12 years campaigning, being an activist around raising awareness of the damage that abuse does, raising awareness about its impact, raising awareness about the need for long-term, person-centered, trauma-informed therapy and recovery for those of us that have gone through these horrific things as children and young people and as adults. Because if we don't break the cycle of the impact, we can inadvertently pass it on to the next generation. And inadvertently, if we don't change ourselves because of the way we've been impacted, then we cannot understand and deal with and change the potential impact that we're passing on to others around us, our friends, our family, our partners, and then on to our children around us, our friends, our family, our partners, and then on to our children. Lifting the lid, shining the light on the impact, the prevalence, the scale, the scope. It's very endemic within our society, within all communities, and most abuse takes place, unfortunately, within the family home environment. And that's never really spoken about to the degree that it needs to. So we hear about online abuse, we hear about grooming, gang abuse, we hear about abuse within the church or within different religious institutions. But I'm always about the bigger picture and the abuse that takes place across all sections of society, within all different faiths and cultures and communities. And to just really lift the lid, as I've said, break that silence so that we can truly help those who have been harmed and impacted. And silence is a perpetrator's best friend. So we need to make sure that that silence is broken so we can out the perpetrators, and we can excuse me, truly provide the support care that individuals that have gone through any kind of harm and who are impacted in their present day current life, we can truly help them and move them on. Not only for them to be more confident and free of that trauma impact in themselves, to building their self-esteem and their self-worth, but then once they've got their health and wellness on an even keel, because this impacts you in all areas of your life, everyone. It impacts your mental health, it impacts your emotional health, it impacts your physical health. So once we can stabilize and improve the individual who has been impacted, they've got their own oxygen masks on, we can then encourage them to go out and help other people in whatever way, shape or form they can. And I have found that by speaking up, being no nonsense about this, being very blunt and open and honest and transparent, that people can really identify with this and they can look at themselves. And if they are really angry about what they went through as a child, about how they were treated, and if they can identify in themselves that actually they're taking it out on other people around them, they could potentially be classified as a perpetrator themselves, even if they don't identify with that, and it's their pain that is speaking up and out, then you as an individual have the power within to change the way that you turn up into society, within your life, within your family, within your community. If you change yourself, then everyone around you will also change and respond differently to how you turn up. So I'm hoping I'm making sense to those that can resonate with this. And going back to my activism and my campaigning, I was on the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse for 8 years. I joined many voices to make sure that the inquiry was set up. It was set up in the right way. And I was also part of its journey for 8 years until its completion, to make sure that as many voices were included as possible. Now, it's never possible to reach every person. It's never possible to share every story because every lived experience is unique. However, we did do a lot of good work, and we have shared all of that work in different reports that the inquiry published over its 8-year life. And you can look at those reports, you can access them from www.icsa.org.uk. So it's there for anyone and everybody to read if they choose to do so. So my continued journey after that inquiry ended is to make sure that we keep knocking on the government's door to make them accountable to actually implementing the recommendations, the final recommendations that that inquiry made, because of what it heard and what it saw and what it researched. And it's been a journey that I didn't expect to take so long and be so hard. Back in January this year, this current government actually acknowledged and accepted that it was going to act on the ICSA recommendations. And some of the recommendations, guys, off the top of my head, I can't remember all 20, but some of the top ones are a child protection authority. So we actually have a department, an organisation, whatever they deem fit, to actually drive all of this work forward and be the one-stop kind of shop where if any legislation needs changing, they would drive that. If any policies need to be implemented, they would gather all of the information that is needed and they would drive that. If there was any procedures that need to be implemented by all different types of organisations, that they would drive that. And they would look across the board, look at the bigger picture, and look at where there is upcoming risk and actually identify what those risks are, and then work with all of their partners that they establish to work with to make sure that we are in a better place to protect our children and young people of today. And it's also about, as I said, capturing the data. So all of the different statutory agencies, police, social care, education, all coming together, working together, capturing the data. Who are the perpetrators? Who are they? What do they look like? What communities are they coming from? Where are they perpetrating and how are they perpetrating their crimes? Yeah, gathering all of that evidence, all of that insight, so that we can better protect children and young people. And again, it's not about blaming any one community or any one type of perpetrator, because we all know that anyone can be a perpetrator and anyone can be a victim, okay? But where the data leads you, that is where you put your resource. That is where you make the change, okay? So we've got lots of people over here in the online abuse world saying, this is a problem, this is a risk, we need resource. You've got victim and survivors of grooming gangs saying, this is a problem, da, 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 da. And then you've got survivors of different faiths, different communities saying, this is what's happening, this is a problem, we need resource. So from my perspective, there are so many areas that need looking at and targeting, and many of the recommendations made by ICSA will actually address many of the similar issues that are going on. The let down by institutions is a very strong thing that came out of the work of ICSA. So having a CPA, a Child Protection Authority, and having a minister responsible for that, someone who will turn up and their only conversation they have is, how do we better protect children and young people from all forms of abuse? That is their job. And that job is there no matter who is in government. That is what will drive the cultural change that we need to see. And then, as I said, one of the recommendations was data capture. One of the recommendations was mandatory reporting, to make it law that if you see or hear or know about sexual abuse in particular, then you have to report it. Once you report it, you need to be on top of it. You need to make sure that it's passed up the chain. You need to make sure that it's dealt with. And we know from the inquiry and its work that many organisations put their reputation before protection. So we need to stop this. And part of that loop, part of that is the whistleblowers policy. Whistleblowers need to be protected, because any kind of system that we work within society, is only worth its salt. It only works if there's a feedback loop of where it's going wrong. Where is the system breaking down? Where does it need fixing? And what do we need to put in place to fix it, so that we are actually better protecting children and young people? Because everybody within the system knows the system, and everyone's working together to make sure that system is working. And these whistleblowers that are coming out in different organisations for whatever reason are saying this particular system is broken. And when they pipe up, when they speak up, they are then being discredited. They are losing their jobs. They're losing their status. They're losing their credibility, because that organisation does not want a light shone on them. So this has all got to change. There are so many people out there that say, you know, oh, we're all about this and we're all about that. Well, you've got to protect your whistleblowers. The whistleblowers should not be called whistleblowers. It should just be a normal part of a very effective, working, efficient system. That if it's broken and someone highlights that, that the organisation, the people, they step in and change it so it is fit and suitable for what the system is there to do. So in child protection and in safeguarding, it's all about making sure that everyone knows what abuse is, for example. Everyone knows what the laws are. Everyone knows that if they do this, this, and this, and it breaks the law or it causes harm to somebody, especially children and young people, when it comes to childhood abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, or sexual, or all, usually when you go through sexual abuse and exploitation, then you suffer from all forms of abuse. Then it's about speaking up, breaking the silence, and empowering that child and young person to be able to live their lives free of all of the angst that they get at the moment because the system is broken and it's not working. Most of the systems that we have in place at the moment are re-victimizing and re-traumatizing. And give you some stats here, gang. 500,000 children, new cases every single year, according to the Centre of Child, for the Centre of Child Sexual Abuse, the expertise group. They say 500,000 children every single year are sexually abused. Now, I know from the Children's Commissioner, from their inquiry into intrafamilial abuse back in 2015, they said only 1 in 8 children are known to the authorities. So it's a very underreported crime, and therefore there are many people who do come forwards who also find it tricky and nigh on impossible to navigate the system that is already in place. It's impossible for them it's impossible for them to get the help and support that they need and even the justice that they need. But think about that stat that I just told you about. Only 1 in 8 children are known. So there's 7 out of 8 that are not known, that are not getting the help, the support that they need and they deserve. So it's really important for us to keep having these conversations about the prevalence, about the impact, about the systems that are broken that need changing, about the governmental duty. But I'm going to actually take that out. It's not only a government duty, it's a societal duty, it's an institution's duty, it's a community leader's duty, it's a parent's duty. It's a human being's duty to actually say, you know what, this abuse, mental, physical, sexual, it's not happening. If I see it, I'm going to call it out. If I see it, hear about it. If I even think it's only a rumour, I'm going to actually have a bit of professional curiosity around this, and I'm going to check it out. I'm going to see, is it just a rumour or is it actually fact? And what can I do about it? What conversations can I have about it? What action can I take? Where do I report it to? And I am going to report it. The only way we're going to change the culture within our community, within this country and countries around the world and make it a global ripple effect is by taking a individual responsibility to call it out and to change it wherever we can. And, you know, I talk about this every single day of my life, and it's easy for me to talk about it, stand up and speak about it, but it also comes at a cost. It takes its toll. So all of those people that have been working in this space, specifically the sexual abuse and sexual violence sector, whether you are suffering from primary trauma or secondary trauma, vicarious trauma, because you listen to people's experiences because that is your job, whether you are a social worker, a teacher, a police officer, whatever it is, whatever your role is, you need to take care of yourself. So Liz, you need to take care of yourself. So, and life balance important for every single human being. It's also particularly important for those of us that are dealing with the trauma impact, and for those of you who may be working with people like myself. So just be aware of all of this. Now, this is all known in the sector if you work within the sector. But those of you outside of all of this, if you've never come across abuse in any form, if you've never really heard about it like I'm speaking about it right now, just know that at least 1 in 4 people go through abuse before the age of 16, before the age of 18. Just all depends where you're reading about it and what research you've got access to. So it needs the 3 in 4 within society to step up and protect the 1 in 4. And I think personally, it's 1 in 3 and even 1 in 2 that will suffer from some kind of abuse before the age of 16, before the age of 18. Now, we do have more awareness and education, but it's still not enough. Not enough action is being taken. So I was part of a group called Act on ICSA, a campaign group that consisted of some organisations from the sexual abuse and sexual violence sector, also the chair and the secretary to the ICSA inquiry. But now I am talking about implementing ICSA. So going from acting to implementation, because anyone can say they're actually acting, but we need to see implementation. We need to see accountability, and we need to see these new laws, new legislation, new policies, new processes, new procedures. We need to see that actually in process. We need to see it as a reality. We need to see it live. We need to see it being actioned. And then we need to just make sure that that system is then changed, tweaked to make sure that it is effective and efficient and delivering. And at the moment, we don't have any of that in place. Now, as I said, this current government has said they're going to act on the ICSA recommendations, and they're going to come up with a timetable of action implementation by Easter. So Easter's nearly upon us. So it's going to be really interesting to see what it is they're actually going to implement and how they're going to do it and the details of that. Because we who have been campaigning and working to this end, we need to actually see it in the detail that we can see it working. If not, we're going to obviously call it out and suggest how it can be made more robust. But hopefully we won't have to do that, because hopefully all of the work has been done and it's all going to be tickety-boo and it's all going to be operational and it's all going to be fantastic. It's all going to be fine. We know that's not going to happen though, don't we, really, truthfully? But, give them their due. At least this government, even though I don't really like any governments at the moment, at least this government has said they're going to act on it and implement it. So we're just going to see what happens. But I just see my job going forwards. On one hand, continue the activism to make sure that we hold this government to account, because we spent £186 million on this inquiry. What went wrong? How were people fouled? How many people were fouled? What was the impact? And what changes do we need to implement? And we asked over 7,000 survivors, individuals who have been harmed. Yeah. And there are so many more. We know there are thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands, millions even, victims and survivors nationwide. We know that. But we do have the voices of at least 7,000 that have been recorded, who have said how they were fouled, who have said what should have been in place that could have helped them get the help that they needed and deserved a lot younger. Yeah. And we've got all of that information to hand. Thanks, Angela. We've got all of that to hand, and we don't need to keep reinventing the wheel. We don't need to keep doing consultations. We just now need to get on and implement. So that's where I see my energies really going. But also, on the other hand, going back to the start of this video, going back to why I went live, was growing the charity and making sure that we can make our 8-week course more accessible to those who need it. And our charity only works with young people 18 plus, because we feel that this is an area that is truly underrepresented within our country. Adult survivors are really struggling, and these 18 plus adults will probably go on to become parents. So we want to make them understand that what they went through was not their fault. They were not responsible for it. We want them to understand that there are coping mechanisms that will further harm them rather than help and move them forwards. So we want them to understand that life will have its up and downs, but ultimately they can have a life full of laughter and love after abuse. And that if they get themselves right, if they understand the impact on them, they can get the help and support before they actually become a parent, and inadvertently pass on whatever went on for them and is still going on for them onto their own children, because we don't want that rot to be passed on to the next generation, because we just don't. We just don't. We want all of our children to live a happy, healthy, peaceful, loving, caring, nurturing life. We want them to have everything. Yeah. Not materialistically, but emotionally, mentally, physically. We want them to have all of that. Yeah. And sometimes we can't provide it just because we don't know what that looks like, because we didn't experience that. So therefore, we need to understand, break the cycle, and make sure that we are in the best place possible to provide ourselves the love, care, and attention that we need, and also that we can gift that to everyone in our circle and our children that we bring into the world. So I hope that you have learnt something. I hope that you may have resonated with something that I've spoken about. And I would love for you now, if you would, to like and share this video so that it reaches more people that may need to hear this kind of insight and chat that I've shared with you all today. And if you are someone that's been harmed and you need help and support, check out NAPAC, NAPAC, check out the Survivors Trust, check out Rape Crisis, check out Mankind, and there are many other organisations out there that can help and support you on your journey of healing, whatever that may look like for you. Okay, so thank you for Angela in particular for liking my video, much appreciated. And I just want to wish all of you a good day. Enjoy this sunshine whilst we have it, and just know you're not alone, and just know that there is help and support out there. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today, and hopefully I will do another live on TikTok very soon. But you can find me on all my other platforms: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where we do a podcast, and we've been doing a weekly podcast, Beverly and I, for the last 2.5 years, about everything to do with abuse in all its forms, its impact. We've had loads of different guests on our podcasts, including MPs, the Secretary to the Inquiry, including health and wellness experts, professionals in their own right. And we've even had sports personalities on here, like Fatima Whitbread, for example. And we would love to have you on as a guest if you feel that you've got a story, a lived experience to share, but also some positive coping and actionable things that you've done that other people could potentially tap into, and that would help them on their journey. So do check out Breaking the Cycle, Two Step Forward podcast on YouTube and all podcast platforms. So I'm going to leave it there for today because I feel like I've been speaking forever. But if you have any questions or comments, I'll check them out later on. And as I said, just go and enjoy the day. Find the joy in each and every day, no matter how small that happens to be. All right, my friends, take care. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.